Common materials. In this video, we'll identify different types of material, define stock, and summarize differences in material shapes.
All right, so when we talk about CNC machining, we're talking about making a finished part. Now, to get to a finished part, we have to start with some sort of material. That's what the term stock refers to. So when you hear the term stock thrown around in the shop, what we refer to is the starting point of the part that we want finished. Now, I've got a lot of different types of materials here and a lot of different shapes and sizes. These are all considered stock. So for instance, this piece of steel right here, this might be stock that we would use on a laser cutter or a water jet machine where we're doing strictly 2D cutting operations. This piece of wood that we see is stock for a CNC router table, something that would work in 3 axes and generally cuts wood or foam. Now, if we look at these two pieces of aluminum right here, these are both different sizes and shapes of stock that we would put on sort of a standard 3-axis CNC machine. And of course, I've got 2 pieces of round stock here, and these would typically be used in a lathe or a turning center. Now, when you're thinking about stock, there's some important considerations to keep in mind. The first is that the stock size needs to be larger than the finished size of your part. So if I look at this piece of stock, it's 2¼ inches by 2¼ inches by 3 inches long. That means that the part I make has to be smaller than those dimensions. The same thing goes for all the rest of this stock on the table. Now, stock comes in both certified and uncertified variations that will hold different tolerances, but for the most part, you're going to make the assumption that you have to remove some amount of material to get a perfectly dimensioned surface on your finished part. So keep that in mind when you're designing a part, because stock comes in various standard sizes. Stock can also be had in custom sizes. Custom sizes, whether you order them or you machine the part down yourself, are going to be more expensive. So if you can design your part to fit inside a piece of standard stock size, you're going to be a lot better off from a procurement perspective than you would be if you needed a custom stock size. So with aluminum, for instance, you'll find that you can get a lot of stock sizes in 1/4 inch increments. You're almost assured to get stock sizes in 1/2 inch increments. And depending on the material that you're looking at, those increments and those available sizes of stock will be different. So keep that in mind at the first stages of designing your part. Now, the other thing to understand about stock is something that we call machinability. So all of these different types of materials will have a different machinability level. And you can find machinability indexes on the internet to sort of help you understand the machinability of different types of materials. But for instance, wood is going to be softer than aluminum, which is going to be softer than steel. And so the machinability of those 3 materials is going to be very different, which means that I'm going to have to be less aggressive removing material from a piece of steel than I would be if I was removing material from a piece of wood. What you'll find is that even in the same family of materials, take aluminum for instance, there will be different machinability levels. So what we've got here is 6061 aluminum. 6061 aluminum comes in multiple grades depending on whether it was annealed or heat treated, and those grades are going to change its machinability. And then you'll find that even going from 6061 aluminum to 7075 aluminum will change the machinability of the material. So all of this is stuff that you need to keep in mind when you're initially designing your part to make sure that the part can be made properly on the equipment you have access to when you're done.